everybody has this idea of basic training. What is it like physically? What is it like mentally? I've seen videos of drill sergeants. It doesn't exactly look like the most friendly place in the world. Could you kind of talk a little bit about what that process was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I always like everybody's different. I'll say
Okay.
that. Like some people go and they're like, this was a cakewalk, and that's awesome. For me, it was difficult because, like I said, I was 18. I'd
Yeah.
never been on my own completely like that. I mean, it was 3 months completely alone. And for me, it was a lot different because they thought, I learned this later on in the end of training, they thought I was 30 years old.
Well, you didn't exactly look 18.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a blessing and a curse, I guess. But
You've looked like a grown man since you were like 13.
yeah, you're not lying.
Yeah.
But they thought I was 30, so they made me. It was called the dorm chief, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a corny term, but they basically I was in charge of the 52 guys, just making sure everything was in order,
Okay.
whatever it was, and that whole thing right there off the rip, I'm stressing. I'm like, oh man, this is serious, this and that, and in reality, it wasn't that serious.
But what if you did mess up as dorm chief?
Well,
Like, what if one of your dorm mates, or however you call them, had their room, out of order?
Well, I mean, like, it was different every time. We had one day, I always tell this story, really funny story. It's not so much funny, it's really cool.
Okay.
This story, how it played out. Because we're like 2 weeks in, and I'm still, I'm cold, I'm stone cold. Like, I'm not smiling, I'm as, like, unbreakable as I've ever been. Like,
You're locked in.
You couldn't get me. And so they tell me, one of the sergeants, oh, you got 5 minutes, 52 guys, remember that. 5 minutes, everybody's got to be showered, everybody's got to be dried off, and in your uniforms when we come back in, 5 minutes starting now. Closes the door.
He says that just to you.
Just to me. And I'm like, guys, get in the shower, let's go, 5 minutes, let's go. So we do like an assembly line, I'm not trying to be graphic, but an assembly line of like 9 shower heads just going around.
And everybody's getting clean.
Just boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom, going through. And we did it. Everybody's dressed. They come back in. Is everybody done? They're yelling, whatever. They're not allowed to swear, by the way. We'll talk about that.
Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think maybe because people would laugh. I mean, if you're getting...
Yeah, and then someone's doing that. Yeah, I hear you.
It would be tough. But, so they come back in. They're checking everybody. Their uniform's got to be the right way. Everything's got to look right. You got to, like, blouse your pants and stuff. So shirt's tucked in, everything. Belt's the right way. Everything.
There's 100 different things that have to be correct.
Little stuff, yeah, but it adds up. So
Yeah.
one kid didn't have his laces when he tied them. You're supposed to put the loops in your boots tucked. One of them was not tucked in, and the sergeant comes back over to me, and he's like, "One of your airmen didn't have their or trainees, because we were trainees, we weren't airmen yet.
Yeah,
we
right,
didn't
right.
earn it.
Right.
He's like, one of your trainees didn't have his laces tucked into his boots. What do you got to say about that? Sir, I'm sorry. I have nothing to say.
Yeah,
It's,
what can you say?
Unexcusable. Whatever I said. He's like, all right, well, now you're gonna give me up downs, and you're gonna give me push ups until I say you're done. I'm like, okay. So I do a couple up downs. I'm sweating, and I just showered. So I'm like, this is a bad way to start my day. And so I'm like, up down, whatever. Then I start doing the push ups. And I'm just focused on him. I'm looking at him. He's going up, down, one, up, to whatever, down, whatever. And I start to see all the people drop next to me, just start doing it with me. And I was like, dude, that is a cool military story. Because even though it's a minor thing, people are like, oh, dude, I was in the battlefield. I'm like, that's awesome. That's
Yeah, you're
great.
like not taking that away from you.
I wasn't in the
Yep.
battlefield. So for me, that was a cool little military moment where I was like, okay, these guys are starting to get it now. Like,
Yeah.
we're a team, and we have to work as a team, or we're going to fail as a team. And just to see all these dudes that I've only known for 2 weeks, but we're getting closer, and then they're like, oh, man, he's doing all these push-ups, and he doesn't deserve that.
So we're going to do them
So
too.
we're going to do them too. And that was cool. That was a cool little story I always tell.
Yeah.
And I got funny ones too, but honestly, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. I don't think, at least Air Force basic training, you're there for 2.5, 3 months, and you're just learning. Really, you're learning. You're getting in shape, and you're learning how to be a disciplined young man. You know,
I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, man, to learn.
no, I mean, and again, it's tough mentally because you're getting like, I think what, 5 hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours of sleep.
Okay.
But you have to get up, like you do a rotation of who's guarding the door or whatever. It's like little stuff like that. Nothing serious, thankfully. We're not in war or anything crazy, so I don't want to overplay it.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely it's hard work, but it's doable. It's achievable.